for heaven. अपना उस्मान साहब एक जूस का गिलास वो मैं बंद करवाता हूँ यहाँ म्यूजिक जरा बंद कर 5 मिनट के लिए. Could I ask ladies and gentlemen, refill your glasses if they are empty? Usman Sahab, could you look around and are empty, refill them, whatever is in them, and then we will start. I'm very pleased that you were able to do this Sunday evening, which is a very wet and quite cold, but everybody has come to have a lovely and enjoyable meal and drink and a company of good people. After meal, we will have a lot of discussion and mingling in the area, but unfortunately for the next, possibly up till the dinner, you have to sit down and you have to squeeze yourself to your friends, but afterward it will happen. So refill your glasses. In 2 minutes we will start. Naseem Sahab, the table te kyun nahi bahe? Good evening, my lords, right honourable member of parliament, ladies and gentlemen, friends. I think you know that this is a annual dinner for Third World Solidarity, which was established 25 years ago, and my founder member couldn't make it this evening, although she was looking forward, because her partner is not well. I wouldn't say more than this, but she's a very brave woman and she's facing it with a lot of courage. I'm very pleased that you were able to make it. I tell you, we have these dinners for many years, from Tony Benn to Lard Ahmed, from Lard Ahmed to Anas Sarwar. David Nursing has been our speakers. We have always held it in much bigger place in central London, where 300 to 400 people came every year. Sometimes it even increased to 500. This year we have scaled it down for many reasons. Number one is there is a very big dinner tomorrow, and I hope most of you will be able to go there. It is a Labour Party fundraising dinner, and Miliband is coming to it. Then there is another event for flood relief in Pakistan in High Commission. I hope you will support that as well, because we can't forget what happened and what is happening in Pakistan. And then the third is Imran Khan's charity dinner on 10th for Nirmal University. I hope you all will support it. And we scaled it down because this is a very important month in the Muslim calendar. And people are mourning the death of Imam Hussain, who died many centuries back, fighting for peace, justice and truth. What we are doing today is the exactly same. And I'm very pleased that a lot of journalists are here today, because the main message of Third World Solidarity is not that how many people come to our meetings, hundreds and sometimes many hundreds come to it, but it is that message should go out, what we stand for and why we stand for. We stand for peace, justice and tolerance. We have been working, lobbying in the parliament. We have become almost voice for the voiceless people. 2 weeks ago, we held a meeting with Colombian trade unionists. You must have read it, there was a news. Then last week on 29th, we held a meeting for the role of United Nations on the issue of Palestine. Today you are here to listen to 2 very prominent members of our trade union movement, and I'm going to ask them how they see that trade union should work for peace. And I'll tell you, I'm very concerned, and most of you are Pakistani, or one of my friends is from India and many others from Asia and Americans and all over the world. But I tell you, we are concerned. As a Pakistanis, in the last 3 weeks, the situation in Pakistan has become very tense. When NATO forces came and killed over 24 soldiers of Pakistani on Pakistani soil, we were not that concerned when Osama bin Laden was taken out or any other terrorist is taken out. But when Pakistani soldiers are killed and many thousands have been killed, we get concerned. Because British Pakistanis believe that whenever there is a tension in that region, we get affected here. Although we love Britain and we are British Pakistani and Muslim Pakistani most of the times, because I don't see many from other religions and non-faith, because Third World Solidarity work for all. Muslims, Christians, Jews, non-believers as well. But we work for humanity. But I think the British role is very important in this tension. Whenever there is tension, whether it is in between India and Pakistan in 2001 after 9/11, or whether it is in between America and Pakistan, or NATO and Pakistan, or in the region, Britain has played very important role. I remember in 2001 when Indian forces came on the border and there was a great tension, Mark Lal Grant, now Sir Mark Lal Grant, came to me and he said, how can we help? I said, you can help by raising the voice that you need peace in between India and Pakistan and peace in that region. So let's stand up for peace, justice and tolerance. And I'm very pleased that Lord Qurban Hussain is here, John Walker, who worked for David Prentice, and Eleanor Smith, who is the president of Unison. Unison is the second largest union in United Kingdom. And then I've got Dave Anderson, who is leading role model in the parliament for peace and role of trade unions, and he has played important role in Northern Ireland during the peace process. So can I welcome you all and thank you for coming, and we will invite one by one my speakers. But first of all, I tell you, I've got very important gathering this evening. People have come from Gateshead, people have come from Pakistan, from America, even Caitlin is sitting here from USA, and many other colleagues. But it is very important that we listen very briefly, and I'm terribly sorry, I should have started with Mr. Deputy Mayor, because Deputy Mayor of Reading with his team is here as well. Can we give him a big hand? You can speak from there if you like this. I know.
Thank you very much for that lovely kind invitation, sir, and I'm grateful that you have invited me here. I'm not a very good speaker as you are. You have said it all, and if I try to say any more than that, it will be very unfair. And I'm sure each one of you sitting up here, as Mr. Lashari has explained, they all know what they are here for, because he has already explained. I don't want to repeat time and time again and waste of dignity's time. I'm sure they can speak and explain much better than me. Every person on the earth knows the problem of the world nowadays, and there is no fair sometime, but unfortunately, we are here to create a fair deal if we can. And I will be grateful to Mr. Lashari and everybody else to do something about this. Thank you very much.
A very important role is played by the British Pakistanis in building bridges in between Pakistan and United Kingdom. And one of the most important aspect of that is UKPCCI. UKPCCI is called United Kingdom and Pakistan Chamber of Commerce International. President happened to be here. Can I invite Syed Qamar Raza, who is one of the unanimously elected president this year, to say a few words.
And today is a very important day as a Muslim and as a human. Today is 8th of Muharram, and I will request everybody for 1 minute silence for the name of Hazrat Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Thank you very much, Lashai sir. As you mentioned, Third World Solidarity is working for Third World, for peace and harmony, and we are supporter of Mr. Lashari and like others, Thank you very much.
Dr. Victoria and Tatiana, I've got two chairs for you here. Tatiana is daughter of Sandra Setterly, who I mentioned a few moments ago. She's from America and she's doing a wonderful job here. Dr. Victoria Godard teaches in UCL and she's from Argentina. So we have people from all over the world almost. Can I just explain the people who don't know Imam Hussain? I mentioned it and then Sayyid Qamar Raza Sayyid mentioned it. He was the nephew of Prophet Muhammad. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, grandson. Prophet Muhammad had one daughter and he was the son of that daughter. And he fought against the injustice in 14th century and was killed with whole of his family. 72 member of his family, and the youngest child was, if anybody want to correct me, 6 months old. And they were all, and he fought for injustice, for peace and justice. So I think it is very important, and we understand that. Now I will invite my colleague and chairman of All Party Parliamentary Group, Dave Anderson, who has traveled all the way from Gateshead, Berkeley, to be with us this evening. Dave Anderson.
Thank you, Mushtaq. Good evening, everyone. Hello, say hello.
Good evening.
You're here to enjoy yourselves, but I'm going to bore you for 10 minutes first. As Mushtaq said, my background is in the trade union movement, and I've spent a lot of my life being involved in conflict and conflict resolution. In many ways, that is why I was pleased when I was approached by Mushtaq to become involved with this group, because the motto of this group is we want to build a world based on justice, peace and democracy through dialogue. And we believe that our role is to open the House of Commons up to anyone from anywhere in the world, as Mushtaq said, people without a voice to have a voice in what is the mother of parliaments. And we've had tremendous success over the last 5 years, and we've had people from virtually every corner of the earth. And going forward, we will have people in the next month from Ethiopia, from Colombia, we've had people from Cuba, all around the Middle East and beyond. You don't need me to tell you that we live in very, very dangerous times. Clearly, at the beginning of this year, nobody would have believed that there would have been regime change in Egypt, Tunisia, Libya. But even though that's happened, there's huge concerns about what's left, what's behind, what's coming next. And even more concern for me is the ratcheting up of the scenario around Iran. Clearly, what happened in the last week, the problems around the embassy in Tehran, but also the problems of us reacting and throwing the ambassador out, is a problem. But an even bigger problem is happening across the Atlantic, where Newt Gingrich has said quite clearly, if he becomes the president of the USA in 1 year's time, he's prepared to bomb Iran. And sadly, President Obama, who most of us put great faith in, as far as I'm aware, hasn't said a word, which is not why those of us in this country and in his country had so much hope in that man. And it's sad that he is not given the lead that the world needs at this moment in time. I'm convinced that if Newt Gingrich does become the president, or if Obama is still the president, and either the US or the Israelis decide to take military action against Iran, that our government today will support them. I would like to think that if my party was in power, that wouldn't have happened, if only for the fact that the Labour Party still bears the scars, quite rightly, of the huge mistake we made by invading Iraq, following another right-wing rabid US president into a scenario that we should have kept well clear of. We should have said to him, you're wrong. We should be saying that to the Americans today, because the truth is, there can be no wins in Iran. I was in Israel 5 years ago, and I sat with some of the generals, and they said then, we could wipe Iran off the face of the earth in 1 day. The only thing that was stopping them was the Americans. If the Americans say okay, then it will happen. That won't be the end of it, that will be the start of it. And not only will we see a nuclear holocaust, we'll see huge problems in terms of the economy of the world, in terms of the stability of the world, and it will be opening a box that may never ever be closed. It really is a major, major issue. And I worry that the government we've got today, and I'm biased, I might as well tell people tonight, I am completely and utterly anti-conservative. That's the way I was brought up. But I really worry on a non-political view about where this government would go. They don't have the depth, they don't have the strength, they don't have the maturity not to do anything other than follow the US. And if the US makes a huge mistake, supported by the Israelis, then I really do worry. But on the back of that, even if they don't do that, we have the long-running sword of Palestine. As Mushtaq said, we had a meeting this week in the House of Commons discussing Palestine. And the truth is, as long as the tension between Iran and Israel is heightened, nothing will happen to resolve the issue of the Palestinian people. And you know better than me, until that is resolved, we'll never ever have stability in the Middle East, in any part of the Middle East, without that happening. So it really, really is hard times. And for me, the one thing we've all got to argue for, and my government must argue, and the Americans, the one thing we have to have is support the Palestinian people's claim for statehood. It's a disgrace that the United Nations don't recognise Palestine. It's a disgrace that the powers that be have stopped, have removed funding for education work through UNESCO from the Palestinian people because they've had the nerve, the cheek, the temerity to say, recognise us as a state. Every country in the world, apart, well, even Israel, all say we want a two-state solution. But when one of those states says, please can we be a state, they all say, no, not yet. Let's wait a little bit longer. They've been waiting since 1948 and it's far too long. It needs to be put to an end. I'm hopeful to be going, that if things work out well, in either January or March, to visit Gaza, a beleaguered place that I cannot see any improvements unless we have some movement over the next period about what's happening in Iran. Further afield, we have the problems, and you know this better than me again, ladies and gentlemen, about the issue in Pakistan. One of the biggest secrets on this earth that never gets talked about in the West is how many ordinary men and women in Pakistan have died because Pakistan supported the moves by George Bush to go into Iraq. At the last count, more than 35,000 innocent men and women have died in Pakistan as a direct result of the mistake that the West made. But we've been here before. We were here in the 1980s and 1990s when the world turned a blind eye to what Saddam Hussein was doing in Iraq because he was controlling and hindering the progress of the Iranians under the Ayatollah. The world turned its back when 182,000 Kurds were massacred, when 4,500 villages were razed to the ground, when people were being gassed, when people were being buried alive by his soldiers in a wave of ethnic cleansing. We stood back and pretended it wasn't happening because we were quite happy. We were quite happy that those people were like pieces on a chessboard. Well, it's wrong, and we have to stand up and say it's wrong. We should never ever forget that. We move into a situation in May when there's going to be discussions in Chicago, which is hopefully going to shape the way forward for Afghanistan. I hope to God that those talks are positive, but I really do worry because May of next year will be right in the middle of the US elections, and the US elections will take precedence over everything else. And I'm convinced that if international stuff becomes part of the issues in those discussions, people will forget about what they're trying to do in Afghanistan. And I think the American people will say, we want to be out of Afghanistan, we don't care what it's like when you leave it, get out of there and come back home. Unless that's resolved properly, and we make sure the Afghan people are able to look after themselves, take care of themselves, and build a new world together. And that might well include having the Taliban working with them. If that's what it takes, so be it. But if we come out in a hurry, then I really do worry the world will be a very, very unsafe place to live. And then, on top of everything what's going on in that international sense, we see what's happening in the economic sense. We all know the problems in this country around the austerity measures. In Europe, it looks like they've lost control totally of where we're going. And in the US, we've got the scenario whereby you've got so many people just jockeying for a position that the American economic system is almost ground to a halt. And this is an assault not just on the economy of these countries, but it's also an assault on democracy. I don't know how good the great Prime Minister was. I certainly was never a fan of Silvio Berlusconi. But the truth is, the people of Greece and the people of Italy voted for those prime ministers. They didn't vote for some bureaucrat from Brussels to be installed on the whim of the capitalist markets to say to their people, you are now going to suffer, you're going to be forced to put right the mistakes that we've made. And we really need to be clear that this is a world that is out of kilter. And this to me isn't just a question of economics, it's a question of morality. Because it's wrong, it's immoral that working people, poor people, disabled people, children, women across the world are paying for the mistakes of the market, are paying for people who got this country, got the world into an economic mess. And now, as we try to get out of that mess, they come back and say, we want even more of you. Somebody once said to me, what you have is a scenario where someone's burnt your house down. And they come back next week and say, if you give me £100,000, I'll rebuild it for you. That's exactly what's happening to men and women across this world because of the failure of the economic systems. We really, really do need to build a world based on what is best for the people. That's why we're involved in the work we do. That's why we'll continue to work with people around the world. Like my comrade Taj, actually from Kashmir. We really do need to start talking to people about places like Kashmir, about places like Colombia, and about places like Cuba. For years, I've spent lots of my life in America. I've got some great friends in America. But I've never ever understood why they took the attitude they have to the Cubans. If they embraced the Cubans, they would have given up on the revolution years ago. They've actually blockaded them. They made the Cubans hate them instead of saying, look, let's try and build an adult working relationship. But they've decided that's not the way to go. And ordinary American people would not be happy with the way in which their government has treated the Cuban people. So we have lots of reasons to be pessimistic. But I wouldn't be standing here tonight if I was a pessimist. Mushtaq wouldn't be involved in things he's involved in, because from where we come from, you've got nothing other than your optimism to take you forward. And we also have the words of Edmund Burke, that for evil to succeed, all it takes is for good men and good men of goodwill to do nothing. I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, the people who brought this banner together and are in Parliament outside will never ever do anything other than stand up and challenge evil wherever it exists. Thank you very much. Enjoy your evening.
Dave, thank you very much. I think. Let me give you a briefing that next year our annual dinner will be on 11th of July, Wednesday, 11th of July, and I have not even yet discussed with Dave, but we will be inviting a Nobel Prize winner for that dinner. And I thank you all for supporting Third World Solidarity, because it is the work which we do is based on your support. The people who are sitting behind me, when I just gave them a ring, they said, Mushtaq, the check is on its way. Because these dinners, the work we do, you can't do without finance. And the finance is done by my friends. Some of them are not here yet, or maybe never turn up, have sent me apology. Sorry Mushtaq, we are missing it. But they keep on giving us the support, whether it is finance or support in the House of Parliament by just showing their heads, or it is on the streets when we are presenting our memorandum last week to United States on killing these 24 people. So these are all important people, whether they are sitting in their homes, whether they are coming to House of Parliament, or taking their time to come this evening with us and listen to us. My next speaker is very briefly from USA. And because we have mentioned US law, so I just want to tell people that USA doesn't have all the wrong people, 300 million people. I think majority of them are good people. It is only the government which take up. Can I invite Todd Foreman, Councillor Todd Foreman, to say 2 words?
Thank you. Thank you, Mushtaq. I'm just going to speak very briefly. Mushtaq, I'm originally from the USA, but as you know, I'm an immigrant now, and I'm British, and I'm very proud to be British. I'm proud that that my home is London. I'm very proud that when Mushtaq stood down from the council in Kensington and Chelsea, I was able to take his place representing Notting Bonds Ward as a Labour councillor, and I'm very proud that there's still an immigrant on the council in Kensington and Chelsea. One thing that I just want to pay tribute tonight is to the work that Benazir Lashari does on behalf of youth. And I would like to say a word tonight. Benazir is head of Third World Solidarity's Youth Wing, and she's invited me to a couple of conferences held in the House of Commons to speak up on behalf of youth and to provide a forum for youth to speak. And I think that one group that is getting the shaft nowadays in this country is the youth. Through a lot of, I don't want to go on into a party political rant, but I think just look at the policies that are happening, that the cuts where the axe is falling, and a lot of them in this country are falling on youth. And I don't think it makes any sense at all to be penalizing youth and to be making youth pay for the mistakes of other people. And so one thing that Third World Solidarity has done is to provide a forum for youth to speak and to get involved and to start to have their concerns heard. And I think that's very valuable work the Third World Solidarity is doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Todd, Councillor Todd Foreman. Can I now invite my lord, who has come all the way from Luton with a few friends. He is Vice Chairman of APPG on Third World Solidarity. He has been recently elected as a Vice Chair. Can I invite Lord Qurban Hussain to speak on the issues of justice and peace in the world?
Thank you, Mushtaq Lashari. I'm thankful to the Third World Solidarity for holding this meeting here today and inviting some cross-section of people from various political backgrounds and from various areas and areas of expertise as well. One thing that perhaps we all share sitting at least on this table, we have some common background of trade union, as I also used to be a trade unionist a long time ago. I was a secretary for the Luton Trade Union Council back in mid-90s. But I haven't lost my TUC connection. I still meet many of my friends, although I'm not in the trade union movement as such. But whatever the trade union movement stands for, so does the solidarity movement, Third World Solidarity Movement. And that is why I have happily accepted to be a member and office holder of this organization. Democracy, peace and justice is something that I have fought all my life for. And let me tell you, that long before I entered into British politics, long before I became a member of a political party in this country, and then of course become a councillor and ending up in Lords, I was fighting for justice, peace and democracy. And I had joined many campaigns. One of them was a campaign for the independence of East Timor. I was the secretary of the Trade Union Council at the time. And I was among those people who thought peace in that region will never come about unless people of East Timor are given their right. Just as much I have to say, I believe then, I believe now, and that is just as much. It is important that people of Palestine and Kashmir do get their right as well. It is a matter of principle. And I have fought for the right of Kashmiri people for the last 35 years in this country. And on this subject of peace, justice and democracy, I believe the way the American policies are working, that we have seen working in the last 10-15 years at least, where it suits Americans and to a large extent the blind followers from Britain and other countries. We bulldoze democracy when it suits us. We support dictators where it suits us. We topple democracy where it suits us. Let me give you one example. How much ever British people are told that Iran is a very nasty regime and whatever, it might well be. But look around Iran. Iran is a democracy. In that region, the democratic norms that Iranian people have held. Remember those days when the whole Iranian parliament was blown up in one big bomb blast. Remember?
Yeah.
And within 3 months, Iranian nation got themselves together and held elections. And the whole government, that included the president, the prime minister, all the cabinet and the parliament were blown up in one bomb blast. And they elected their government again. We might disagree with their ideology, we might not like them, but the fact remains, Iran is a democracy. And we ought to promote the democratic movements around the world. And not to bulldoze them. Not to bulldoze them. If we disagree with them, let us bring them around on the table. Let us talk to them. By isolating them, by bombing them, by taking crap out of the people. Remember, we might disagree with the regimes, but it is not fault of ordinary Joe Blow. It is not the fault of ordinary people. And whenever wars happen, who suffers most? It is the most ordinary people who suffer most. And we don't want to see that happen. We have seen enough in Afghanistan. We have seen enough in Iraq. We don't want to see it the same in Iran either. Let us not give any country an open check, a blind support. Who is Israel going around and saying, I'll bomb that country and only America supports? I think what is needed is we recognize each other and we respect each other's country and independence. We don't go and poke our nose in other people's business. And what I have to say, Pakistan, have a look at, I'm sure people are well educated and well informed, and I might be talking to, largely to converted, but nevertheless, just to remind ourselves, Pakistan has never been a fundamentalist, extremist country. Its independent movement was never, as much as I have understood reading the history of Pakistan, it was never a religious movement as such. It was a democratic movement. The secular leadership, like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, you couldn't get a more secular person who led the movement, and Pakistan came into being. Pakistani society is a liberal democratic society. They have opened up the whole country. I can see that in Pakistan, okay, it is largely again to the West that they have supported military to rule Pakistan for most of its time since independence. But other than that, when the military is not ruling Pakistan, people have been given freedom. Women have been given freedom. And Pakistan had seen female prime ministers, ministers. President, chairman or speaker of the National Assembly is a female. And we need to promote these democratic governments wherever we can. Pakistan has always been a friend of the West. Pakistan has supported the Western countries in their wars, not Pakistan's wars. Take Iraq-Kuwait war, take the present Iraq war or whatever, the Iraq invasion that we did. Pakistan was forced to support it, and it did. In Afghanistan, Pakistan supported the West during the Cold War, and of course when the Russians invaded in Afghanistan in 1979, Pakistan was the country which fought as a frontline state for 10 years. And what it got in return? Heroin culture, Korsankov culture, suicide bombers, lawlessness in Pakistan, refugees, millions of Afghans. Most of them haven't gone back. The economy has been drained because of that. And then, of course, when the table turned and the Western interest changed, those mujahideen, that it was not Pakistan who trained them, it was the West who asked Pakistan to host those mujahideens to fight the Russians.
True.
Osama bin Laden was never Pakistani, nor is Al-Zawahiri, nor is the chap who's sitting in the border area now, we want to Haqqani. They're not Pakistanis. They were foreigners brought by the West, asked to Pakistan to host them, to train them, and to support them. And when the West had finished, when the Russians went back, we left those factories producing jihadis day after day after day intact, and we walked away. And now they seem to be creating problems for us. And we blame Pakistan for it. Ladies and gentlemen, I am a British origin, but I'm proud to be a British citizen. Britain has given me a lot. I came to this country at the age of 14 not speaking a word of English. Yes, I did my best. Yes, I worked full-time in textile mills and studied part-time. But it was the country who provided me that facility. It was the country which opened their society up for the foreigners to come and settle in this country, and I am a prime example of that, who from the time when I could not speak a word of English, getting to the House of Lords, it was a long journey. It took me 14 years. It took me 40 years, but nevertheless, I appreciate the great British society, the open society, and I'm thankful to them. But at the same time, I have to criticize where the criticisms need to be made. And our foreign policy, we have supported dictators in the past, and let us ask this government not to let Pakistan democracy derail, and don't support any more military coups in Pakistan. We don't want any more military coups in Pakistan. However bad that democracy might be, there may be 110 faults in it. There may be, I'm not saying, the world is saying, there's corruption, lawlessness and all the rest of it. But the worst type of democracy is better than a military rule. And let us see Pakistan, this Pakistani democratic government finish its tenure. And then, of course, have fresh elections and so on. And what I'm going to say is that what West could have done, and they can still do it, to help Pakistan to get out of the situation that they actually put them in, Pakistan in. And one of the biggest things that Pakistan suffers from is their ties with India. And the biggest problem that Pakistan has with India is the issue of Kashmir. Both countries are spending billions of dollars a year on defense, whilst a great majority of the people in both sides are suffering in poverty. Millions of people on both sides of the border don't have access to clean water. They are born, there are millions in both sides who are born on pavements, who live on pavements, and who die on pavements. But yet, both of the governments are forced, because of their issue on Kashmir, both of the governments are forced to spend millions, not millions, but billions on defense. Let us bring those two countries together. And Britain can play that role. And I ask this government, which I am, or my party, Liberal Democrats, is part of that. And I'm asking them as well. I'm not talking about here about this issue while I'm addressing a lot of Pakistani origin people here. I do say this when I am sitting with the Liberal Democrats as well. Let us help both countries to bring peace in that region, and the only way you can do that is resolving Kashmir. Coming to Afghanistan, I am one of those millions of people who condemn NATO's attack on Pakistan sovereignty. I think it was unfortunate, it is wrong, and the American government, who's largely responsible for NATO, I think NATO must apologize, and they must bring Pakistan back into the international forum. Pakistan has a right, they are angry, and of course I can see their anger. When you are sitting in your own homes and you are bombarded by foreigners, you will be angry. When you lose 24, 28 men defending their own country, sitting in their own country, Pakistan needs an apology from NATO and compensation for those who have died. My thoughts are with those who died and their members of families and friends in that area, as much as those who died, our forces who have died in those areas. It is not the fault of our soldiers who are fighting in Afghanistan, it is our government who have sent them there. The poor soldiers of this country who are losing their lives in Afghanistan is not their fault. It is our government who have put them in there. And when they lose their lives, I feel sorry for them as well. I will say no more, just to say that Mushtaq Lashari and Third World Solidarity, carry on with your good work, and I will support you as far as I will be able.
Qurban Sahib, it is always a privilege to work with you. When you were a part of trade union, I was also a member of that, and working with you when you were a councillor as well. We have been joined by a few other friends. On my right, why I called him to sit here is, and I've got only one more speaker who is the main speaker of this evening, and I'll introduce her in a minute. But our member, first Muslim GLA member. GLA means Greater London Authority. Murad Qureshi is here, so can I welcome him on behalf of you all. Barrister Huma Price has just joined us, who is also a member of Executive Committee of Third World Solidarity. I've got Terry Bamford sitting there. I've got Dr. Victoria Goddard, Huma Price, Benazir Lashari, myself, and I'm looking forward to a few others who will join us. Sandra Stirley couldn't join us, but Tatiana certainly is here. And let me give you a small brief. Tatiana lives in San Francisco, and she is on a mission. She has been commissioned by a theater to write a stage drama on Miliband Brothers. And she's interviewing nowadays friends who know Milibands or their parents or anybody. So Tatiana, thank you very much, and I hope, and I'm looking forward to watching it and coming at the premium of it. Welcome to this event. I tell you, I'm really privileged and proud to be part of Third World Solidarity and the family which I'm sitting this evening. Although it is a small and quite cozy, and I hope you don't mind while you are having your meal later on that you have to squeeze through. But I'm very proud and privileged that today our main guest, chief guest, is the first black woman to become the president of Unison, which is over a million. That she will take a message back to Unison and Unite and all other unions that the Third World Solidarity is doing a lot of work. Let's support them, let's bring them on board, and they have got international section, and I'm pretty sure that we will work with them. But before I invite my main speaker, can I also welcome John Walker, who works for David, who worked for the Secretary General of Unison, David Prentice, and our main guest, and she's joined us this evening as well. So I welcome everybody, and I will thank before I sit down after our main speaker has spoken, because there are few people whom I have to thank, because they have been supporting this and doing a lot of work for a lot of organizations. Can I invite our main guest, Eleanor Smith, President of UNICEF.
I hope you can all hear me. My voice is going a little bit because I've had to do quite a bit of talking over the week because of the strike action, which you're probably aware of with the pensions. And I've been heavily involved in that, in the picket lines and doing radio interviews. And I've been going in and out, so I've got a slight cold, so I hope you all can hear me. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Thank you. Right, can I say once again, thank you for inviting me, and thanking David as well for actually putting the invitation to us. My speech, I hope, isn't going to be too long, but it'll be enough to be able to understand and give you the flavour of where Unison is coming. My union, Unison, represents over 1,300,000 workers in the public sector in the UK. From a Unison's establishment of a merger in 1993, it had pursued the internationalism of its predecessors. One of our union's notable successes was to stand in solidarity with South Africa in their struggle to overcome the injustice during the apartheid era. We uphold the principle of solidarity today as we strive for the fairer society both at home and abroad. Third World Solidarity and Unison have much in common. We both work for social justice, peace and democracy. Your mission statement reflects Unison values, tolerance, harmony, equality and diversity. And like Unison, TWS speaks out against human rights violations wherever they occur. Lord Ahmed, speaking in the launch of the all-party parliamentary group of the TWS a few years back, said that without human rights there cannot be peace. It is not a difficult concept. If people's human rights are violated, conflict is inevitable. We have seen that all too clearly over the past years as the Belgrade citizens of the countries including Egypt, Tunisia, Bahrain, Libya and Syria took to the streets in a peaceful protest. Calls for democracy and respect for human rights led to a peaceful transition to a more democratic governance in place like Tunisia. But in some countries, the protests were brutal, suppressed, as the human rights of citizens were trampled on, as despots cling to power wherever and whatever the cost. Human rights are fundamental and essential. And if we are to live in peace, every one of us has the right to have our human rights respected. We also have a responsibility to respect the rights of others. Sadly, all too often, we have seen major violations of people's fundamental human rights, people being abused, exploited around the world every single day. And much of this abuse and exploitation occurs in the world of work. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is the bedrock of human rights legislation and international treaties. Not only does it call for the rights to life, liberty and security of a person, it also calls for the rights of people to work, to be paid a decent wage, to a social protection, to equality at work, and the right to join a trade union to protect their rights. Workers' rights are protected internationally. Labour organisations, conventions, but are coming under intense pressure as governments and employers seek to pursue an agenda of liberalisation where profit is equated with the growth and development. Rights are included in the rights to education and health, the right to live without the fear of hunger or poverty, the right to clean water, basic human rights, without which countries cannot claim to be civilised. And only by providing public services that are free at the point of delivery can these basic needs be met. If profit is the motivation factor in providing public service, greater inequalities will follow, as we've only seen too clearly. Let me give you an example. 10 people in Swaziland rely on the salary of a single worker. The IMF has called on Swaziland to cut 10,000 jobs and open up public services up to competition. The knock-on effect would be jeopardise the well-being of 100,000 people. This in a country with a population of over 12 million. Add this to the fact that the country is suffering 40% unemployment. Privatisation is not a panacea for the poor in economic performance. Public services are what contributes to greater good. Unison, along with all the affiliates of the Global Union of Public Service Internationals, believe that public services are vital for social and economic development and in combating social injustice. If countries are to meet their Millennium Development Goals, public service workers must have a say in how they are achieved. They are the ones who nurse our sick, like myself, because that's what I am, I'm a nurse, who care for the elderly, who provide maternal health care, who educate our children and provide our public services which are crucial to the well-being of the society. Unison plays a small part in helping unions defend public services in the global south. Our concrete example of our support for unions in the global south is a joint project we undertook which finished this year. The project was in partnership with the Public Services International, the Global Union for Public Service Workers. The aim of the project was to strengthen the capacity of public services in South Africa to respond to the threat of HIV/AIDS, and the project was funded by the Department of International Development through its initiative Civil Society Challenge Fund. 32 unions in 11 countries, including Botswana, Zimbabwe, Swaziland, Zambia and South Africa, with a combined membership of almost 750,000 workers, came together to develop a strategy to protect the rights of health, their members and the broader community while maintaining vital public services in the face of the pandemic. Unison also provides support to sister unions in the Global South through our own International Development Fund. The fund has helped unions in part of Latin America to campaign against water privatization. It also helped Palestinians living in Israel to make a legal challenge to receive pay and pensions owing to them. It has helped human rights defenders in the Philippines to highlight impunity that affects against human and rights activists. Most recently, the fund has been used to support unions in Botswana and Malawi to address the gender imbalance in their unions, especially leadership. And all of the projects funded by Unison's International Development Fund are to help unions to protect vital public services, to support workers and to realise their fundamental rights. I would like to conclude by saying that public services are essential to the country's development. Many of these services are fundamental human rights, the rights to education and health. Workers' rights are also fundamental, and the UN enshrines these rights in international treaties and conventions. Public service seeks to deliver services to the wider community, but it must in turn have the rights protected. Not to do so is abhorrent to those of us who believe in the sanctity of human life. Thank you.
Eleanor, thank you very much, and I hope you will enjoy your year of presidentship, and we will keep in touch, and we will come to you for your support.
Okay, thank you.
The food will be ready in 5 minutes, and drinks are around. Anybody who is looking for drink, I will be serving you in a minute because I am the good servant or barman today because I can see who is drinking what. Can I thank the media first of all? And the media, I start from Muhammad Sarwar, a young man, Ehtisham from Pakistan with Akbar Khaja. Tariq Saab is talking. I hope Tariq will listen that I am speaking about him. Umar Mujahid, Mushtaq Sindhu Saab, then Asif Dar Saab, Ijaz Iqbal is editor of Jung, then Mubin Chaudhry Saab, and Ata Haq Saab. So the media, can I give them a big hand? I hope I am not missed. Now there are few thanks before food is served. People coming from all the way from Gateshead. Paul and Kiran is sitting somewhere there, and then I've got Zade Jilani Saab, who is the chairman of non-resident Indian. Usually I say it NRI. So today meeting is very important that it is represented well by the chairman of non-resident Indian as well. Zade Jilani. Then Tariq Dar Saab, thank you very much for coming. I know I would have asked you to say a few words, but today it is already quite. Mia Salim Saab and his, I used to call them gang, but they are no more gang. They are very respectful friends. Deputy Mayor, former Mayor of Reading, Chaudhry Riaz Saab, Dr. Khalid Bajwa Saab. Then Riaz Saab is sitting on the final table at the end. I'm very thankful to you and Bhabi ji. I hope you will meet other friends. Then Abdul Majid Shaheen Saab and Ikram Khan Saab, they are sitting in front of us. They are the founder member of UK Chamber of Commerce. He is nowadays Secretary General of Chamber of Commerce. Then how can I forget the table on the left, Cranford College, led by Sarwar Khaja, the chairman, Zahid Shakil and Naseem Siddiqui Saab and everybody. And not last but least, Naseem Ahmed, who is the most and one of the oldest. He is not old enough to be called oldest supporter of Third World Solidarity. And then the final table on the left, my wife Abda. I couldn't do anything. And Zaina Iqbal is sitting there, who is doing, and particularly, Alana, you should be the chief guest of that, because she's doing an evening with my daughter, Benazir Lashari, for women only.
Oh, my!
It is a woman night. So anybody who wants to have one evening for their wives or their daughters or sisters, they should allow them to go there and join Zaina Iqbal, and she will be raising some funds for charity as well. So it will be great to give them support and as much as you can. I think that enough is enough. I said 9 o'clock food will be served, so it is 9 o'clock. So let me give you a big hand. Thank you.
Well done.
Have a seat wherever you want. Feel comfortable.
I'm so glad I am. That's tremendous. Already
हाजी साहब बार-बार जा रहे हैं, कहना थोड़ी देर